Hey, welcome back everybody. We're continuing on with our virtual lab test environment creation or configuration. We've already set up Server 2012 and we've also set up Windows 8, but they both currently do not have access to the internet. That's where this video comes in. This one's going to be a little bit unique to me because I have not set this up before in a virtual environment, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. I think it's going to work pretty well, and it's going to be kind of a springboard into other videos on this particular firewall. What we're going to be installing is pfSense. I've used this in my home environment, and I've also helped a buddy at work kind of set one up for a local library. It's free, so let's get right into it. Open up Virtualbox. What we need to do is first make sure, and I have the links down below, that you download your pfSense, whatever the version is, the latest version. And I did download the 64-bit version because that's what I'm running here. You'll notice that it came in a .gz format. So you can just download something like, I use 7-zip file manager. And you can see I already have it in that directory. But you can find that file, which is ending in .gz, and highlight it and just extract it. We're going to be working with this pfSense.iso. Okay, so to create this thing, let's go ahead and select a new one. Hit next. We're going to name it. I'm just going to name it something very simple here. pfSense. For operating system type, you want to select BSD. And then it already came up with the free BSD version, but I am running 64, so I'll go ahead and select the 64-bit. Hit next. Now with memory size, we can adjust this later if we wanted to. I'm going to leave it at 128 megs because I don't know how much RAM your host machine, your desktop, has. This one currently has 16 gigs. So, I mean, I have plenty to work with here, but you may not, so you may want to adjust this to your needs. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at 128 and see how it runs. It should run pretty well because it's very lightweight. It doesn't need a lot of resources. The cool thing with pfSense, if you're going to put it in a real-life environment, is that you don't need a very powerful machine. You probably want one that's going to run continuously 24/7 without any problems. So, having a good power supply and a decent motherboard without, some cheap capacitors or anything would probably be very beneficial. But here in this environment, we're just going to run 128 startup disk. We're going to leave the default here to create a new hard disk. We do want it in a VDI format, dynamically allocated. And so what we're going to do is, it's suggesting 2 gigs. I would say that's going to be plenty for you. But since I'm going to be doing some videos here in the future on this particular box for different things, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more space. I'm going to give it 6 gigs. 2 would be fine for you. You can leave it at 2, at least for now. I'm going to go ahead and hit next and create again. Okay, so now what we want to do is change some settings in here. Main thing is going to be in our network here. So you noticed in the previous videos for the Server 2012 and Windows 8, we switched the network adapter to be in internal only mode. We're going to do the same thing here somewhat, but on adapter 1, let's make this bridged. This is going to bridge this network adapter to my host adapter, which is going to be this one right here. Okay, this is the tricky part that's going to give the whole network, this whole internal network, access to the internet. So the other trick part of this is we have to create another adapter. So it's pretty much like you're pretending that you're putting in 2 NIC cards in this physical pfSense box. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and enable this one and make this one internal network. And it's important that all 3 of these machines, the internal network name is the same. They all got to be the same if you want them to communicate. The reason behind this, I think, is if you had, let's say, 10 different virtual machines here, and you wanted to separate some machines from other machines, you can just put them on different network names here. So we have adapter 1 and we have adapter 2. Adapter 1 is bridged and adapter 2 is internal. Alright, so okay. Also, we can go in here to the storage. We'll go ahead and go to our CD drive and attach that ISO. We're going to go ahead and attach the pfSense ISO. Hit OK. And let's fire it up. I'm going to hit start here. Okay, we only have 10 seconds here when we started it. So I need to capture the mouse real quick. So to install it, let's go ahead and hit number 1 because we want to boot pfSense. We'll let it go through its thing here. Okay, right here, you got to keep an eye on it because it's only got another 10 seconds. It says press I to launch the installer, or what it's going to do is go into its live boot mode. So just pay attention there. Okay, and on this one, our environment for the console settings, let's just go ahead and accept these settings. And for the purpose of this video, we're going to go ahead and just use the quick, easy install. It's just saying it will automatically install without asking any questions. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and select this first option, hit enter. Now it's ready to reboot. So what we need to do is first we need to remove the CD-ROM drive. Otherwise it's going to try to boot from the CD-ROM drive again. So we're going to go to devices up here in our Virtualbox, and we need to remove disk from virtual drive. So force unmount because it's still running. It's like, hey, you can't unmount it, it's still running. So that's okay, we just forced it. And now we're going to reboot. So hit enter. Actually, I'm not sure what this is doing. So what I'm going to do is just go to machine. Let's go ahead and just reset it and just see what happens. See if we can boot back up. Maybe, hopefully it installed it okay. Alright, that's just the default. That's fine. We should be asked some questions here in a few minutes. Okay, do you want to set up VLANs now? No, we don't want to set up VLANs. We can, but we don't want to, not for this. Enter the WAN interface name for A, or A for auto detection. Now, if you've been following along with this one and your network adapter number 1, the one that we set up as bridged mode, if you set it up just like I did, then the name for this is going to be EM0. And that's going to tell pfSense that network 1 that we set for bridged mode needs to be attached to the WAN interface. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. Now enter LAN interface, which is going to be, and again, if you've been following along with this one, it's going to be EM1. Okay, we're going to go ahead and enter. Optional, we're going to leave that blank. You can have another network card in there, a third one for something like, a DMZ or just a whole nother LAN, but just hit enter. Okay, the interfaces will be assigned as follows. It's just telling you, hey, the WAN interface is attached to EM0, LAN is EM1. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Okay, so here's your main menu, and it just gives you a brief rundown on your WAN address. Now let's pull in this address from my home network here, which is what the bridged mode is allowing the WAN interface on the pfSense box to do. So the WAN interface has access to like my home network and the internet. So it's just like when you plug in your router at your house. When you plug in that WAN port, it's configured for DHCP and it's getting its IP address and IP information from your ISP. So it's kind of like that's what we're emulating here, so to speak. So then our LAN, LAN is set up with a 192.168 configuration. We may leave it that network there. I was going to change it to 10.0.0. something, but my home network is a 10 dot number, so that might just confuse people. So this may actually make it a little bit easier. So we'll probably just leave it at 192. If you wanted to change this, this is what you would have to do. We're going to enter option number 2, which is set interface's IP address. So we're going to hit number 2. Oops, sorry, got to get my mouse in there. Hit enter. Now, which interface do you want to configure? We're going to configure the LAN, number 2. Enter the LAN IP address. We're going to do 192.168.1.1 just because I want it to be the same, but this is how you would change it. Enter the new LAN subnet bit count. We're going to be 20. We're doing 24, which is a class C. Do you want to enable DHCP server on this LAN? This I do not want to do because I'm going to be setting up DHCP server on the actual server 2012, and I would prefer Windows handling all DHCP because then it's easier for me to do reservations and just overall management for me personally. So no, I don't want it to be a DHCP server. Do you want to revert HTTP as a web configurator protocol? I don't know what that is, so I'm going to say no. Okay, enter. So we can just hit enter. Okay, now we're back at the home screen. So basically, if you were to set this up on an actual little old computer, which I had running down in my basement, if you had a monitor connected to it, when you boot it up, this is what you would see right here. This is the screen. It's not real pretty, but you can configure a lot of things and do a lot of things here, but the real power is actually accessing pfSense through a web browser from another machine on the same network. And that's what we're going to be doing later on in this series, or maybe in a new series. But for now, these machines, Windows Server 2012 and Windows 8, actually do not currently have access to the internet because we still got to configure the network, their NICs. And that we're going to be doing in the next video. And I kind of wanted to break these videos up into shorter little ones. This is the configuration for setting up pfSense. We pretty much do not need to even remote into it or do anything else. As long as it's running, we should be good.